Hello. Did you miss me? There's not much to read today. I'll come a bit closer. There's actually just one paragraph, which is a bit crazy. It says, more than 11 hours of incessant hard travelling brought us early in the morning to the end of a range of mountains. In front of us there lay a piece of low, broken desert land, which we must now cross. And that's all it says really about the 13th, pretty much, which is an understatement, I must say, given how far you have to travel and the mountains you have to climb. But that's another story. So I thought because that was so short, I would actually treat you to a little bit of the chapter 21 that you were meant to read yourself. Early as day comes in the beginning of July, it was still dark when we reached our destination, a cleft in the head of a great mountain, with a water running through the midst, and upon the one hand a shallow cave in a rock. Birches grew there in a thin, pretty wood, which a little further on was changed into a wood of pines. Well, I think I found that. The burn was full of trout, the wood of cushat doves. On the open side of the mountain beyond, wops would be always whistling, whatever they are, and cuckoos were plentiful. Well, I'm afraid none of those were found, and disappointingly I failed to guddle a trout, even though I did attempt it. From the mouth of the cleft we looked down upon a part of Mamor, or Maymore, and on the sea lock that divides that country from Appin, down there. And this from so great a height as made it my continual wonder and pleasure to sit and behold them. Well, it's not a bad view, is it? The name of the cleft was the Heugh of Corrinaki, and although from its height and being so near upon the sea it was often beset with clouds, yet it was on the whole a pleasant place, and the 5 days we lived in it went happily. We slept in the cave, making our bed of heather bushes, which we cut for that purpose, and covering ourselves with Alan's greatcoat. There was a low concealed place in a turning of the glen, where we were so bold as to make a fire. In fact, there's a little derelict stone hut there, so you could easily set up in there, so that we could warm ourselves when the clouds set in, and cook hot porridge and grill the little trouts that we caught with our hands under the stones and overhanging banks of the burn. I didn't see one fish, and I promise you I did put my hand down some very scary holes. This was indeed our chief pleasure and business, and not only to save our meal against worse times, but with a rivalry that much amused us, we spent a great part of our days at the waterside, stripped to the waist and groping about, or as they say, guddling for these fish. The largest we got might have been 1/4 of a pound, but they were of good flesh and flavour, and when broiled upon the coals, lacked only a little salt to be delicious. In any by-time Alan must teach me to use my sword, for my ignorance had much distressed him, and I think besides, as I had sometimes the upper hand of him in the fishing, he was not sorry to turn to an exercise where he had so much the upper hand of me. Okay. And that's all I'm going to read you. There is, of course, the encounter with John Breck McCall, the booman of Appin. And if you're smart enough to have read ahead, you'll know that something happens to my little silver button. And the first person out there to create a replica of the item that is mentioned in that chapter, that incorporates my little silver button, or a shell, will win a prize. Must say thank you very much to Louis for a charming drawing of a sheep, the national animal of the Highlands as far as I can tell, unless it's the midge, of course. Any other drawings, very welcome.